Hello and welcome to another edition of City at Your Service. I'm Jonathan Thomas, and today I'm joined by Cooper Thompson, Community Engagement Specialist for the Office of Police Oversight here in Austin. Cooper, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So first off, the department here, again, on City at Your Service, we're, educating people on the different departments and services that the city offers. And your department, very important, police oversight. How did the department come about? And just kind of provide folks with an insight of what you all do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Office of Police Oversight was established in 2018, sort of in that same era, founded alongside sort of like Office of Civil Rights and the Equity Office. And so what we do is if community members have interactions with Austin police officers, positive or negative, then they can tell us what happened. And we can help sort of be their voice in providing that feedback to APD so that way they can continue refining their policies and practices. And, it's certainly been gone through some changes over the years, most notably in 2023 when the Austin Police Oversight Act was passed in that big referendum in May. And so that enshrined us in the city charter in chapter 215 and really just sort of empowered us to be able to publish a lot more documents and just be a lot more active in our process.
Now, what, for you personally, what drove you to do this?
Yes. So I graduated from UT, from the LBJ school in 2023.
All right. Shout out UT. Shout out Hook 'em.
Mm-hmm. Well, I went to A&M for undergrad.
Oh my goodness. All right. Whoops.
Have to walk that line a little bit.
Yeah. Woo, or whatever it is y'all do. Whoop. Yeah, there it is.
And so just looking at sort of what opportunities with the city there were, and there was a position open with OPO. And so I thought, this is something that's really unique as far as something that Austin does. We have a pretty unique model compared to some of our peer offices in Texas. So I thought it'd be a really great opportunity. I focused a lot with government communications. And so this was just a nice segue to get working on everything that I learned in school. Nice.
Now, you just said, you all have a unique model compared to, other cities that have this type of thing. What makes it unique here compared to those other places?
Yeah. So the thing that's really unique is that we're pretty big for an oversight department in Texas. And the fact that we have sort of 3 divisions within our office, our complaints division, which of course the most famous, the one everyone has, sort of the most interest in. Then we also have my team, the Communications and Community Engagement Division. Then we also have a Policy and Research Division. So they do a lot of reviews of different APD policies and sort of looking at how those can be improved, sort of in line with what other departments are doing and sort of national guidelines and best practices around policing, so that way they can make sure that everyone is safe, both community members and officers. And so it's that's a pretty unique setup for us, just because that policy angle is really helpful in guiding a lot of our work, and being able to have all 3 divisions sort of interact with each other and sort of have all of our work feed into itself is really nice, really helpful, makes us pretty well positioned to do what we need to do.
And you all have a big event coming up. But before we get into that, in your time working here, what have kind of you found in terms of, participation from community members? Do you feel like it's rising, or are you guys still trying to stress? I mean, it's always an important thing for people to be engaged and be aware of what's going on and give feedback when it comes to dealing with police officers. But have you found that you guys are there's a lot of engagement you all have already with the community?
Yeah, definitely. This is a topic that Austinites have been very passionate about for quite some time. And so, all feedback is good feedback to us. And so, we're just out here trying to make sure that, as Austin continues to grow, that everyone who's making Austin their new home is aware that we're here as a service for them, and that we're here with all these different opportunities for them to get involved, and sort of building on the already pretty active engagement we have with all of our pre-existing communities. And so just trying to get more people to grow with us and grow with the city.
All right. Now, the event I was referring to is an open house, correct? Just tell us a little bit about how that came about, first of all.
Yeah. So we came about because the number one question we get when we're out interacting with community members is, well, what happens after I file a complaint or compliment with you guys? And so that's a process that obviously people are very interested in, and can be a little tricky, especially after the Police Oversight Act passed, and then once the contract between APD and the city was finalized last year, just left a lot of people like, oh, well, did anything change? Has anything changed? And so we really want this event to be able to answer all of those questions for everyone. So, it'll help sort of lay out what our process is. So, you'll be able to walk through step by step. Big, great opportunity. Our full staff is going to be there. So you'll be able to talk to everyone involved in our complaints process, our policy process, and our communications process at the step that they're involved in it. So whatever questions you have about, what our intake process is, what our follow-up process is, what our investigation process is, you'll be able to talk to the people who are doing that every single day. So, we think it'll be a really great opportunity for everyone to come in and see how we function, sort of get a little look behind the scenes and find new ways for them to get involved in this oversight process, because, all feedback is good feedback.
Yeah, for sure. And break down the process like a little bit, kind of what's kind of a step by step, how can people get started?
Yeah. So generally, we start is at our intake. So we accept any contact over the phone, on our website, or in person at our office. And so there'll be a form for you to fill out, and community members always have the option to remain anonymous through this whole process if they want to. And from there, we just need to know sort of what happened in that interaction. So tell sort of, what happened, sequence of events. We'll also ask some extra information, most notably time, date, and location. From there, it gets handed off to our complaints team, who starts by doing a preliminary review. So they look at things like body cam, dash cam, the GPS system, the dispatch system. So they can sort of go through the process, get another view of what happened, identify any potential policy violations, or even any potential going above and beyond what's required in policy if someone has filed a compliment about an officer. And they'll do their write-up of that. They'll pass it along to our investigators. We get back in contact with community members to decide sort of how they want to proceed, because they have some options there around, if they just want APD to be made aware of what happened. If they would like to speak to the officer's chain of command, that's an option to them. If they'd like us to launch an administrative investigation, that's also an option. And so if they choose that, it'll get passed along to our investigators. And so they'll sit down with any witnesses, with the community member, with the officer, do their interviews, ask some questions, and sort of oversee APD's sort of internal investigation, just to be that extra voice for the community member in that process. And then we'll have our closeout meeting with the community member, go over what we found with them. And then if we are recommending discipline, we'll make that recommendation to the chief of police, since she is the ultimate decider on officer discipline. And then, that's sort of the end of that process. And then from there, usually disciplinary recommendations get published to our website. That's part of where my division, the communications division, comes in. We'll be publishing that all on the website.
So all of that information about the process and everything, that's also public, right? That's on your website and everything.
Yes, that's all on our website, atxpoliceoversight.org, and it'll be there in our FAQ page. It'll also be there in sort of in all of our reports and recommendations. You can get a sense of what our process looks like through those. And so this is all fully public. We're all about transparency at OPO, so we're part of trying to get people sort of that behind the scenes look with this open house that also carries through to our website.
All right, and I want to stress that's all public, but I want to stress that if you do have a complaint, you want to remain anonymous, that you can. So you don't have to put your name on it if you don't want, because I know that's something that some people get very squeamish about, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern we try to be as sensitive to as possible. So the process remains the same, but you have the option to be fully anonymous throughout the whole thing.
And before we wrap up and go back to the open house, I do want to ask you too. You had mentioned that when people are going through the process of a complaint, that the chief makes the ultimate decision in terms of discipline. What percentage, if you could even put one on it, of that process when it comes to a complaint or even praise, right? How much of a factor does that weigh in, or have you found when it comes to what ultimately is decided, what happens with the complaint?
That's not a point of data I have sort of off the top of my head, but I think that'd be a great question to come to our open house with, being able to talk to our complaints team sort of about what they see as far as how that works out.
Okay, and so how many open houses do you all have? I know you have one coming up, but are these regular? Are these monthly or quarterly? How often do you all do this?
Yeah, well, this is our first open house, so
okay,
we're hoping to make this a regular event. But for another way community members can get involved, we do have quarterly oversight implementation work group meetings. So I believe our next one will be in August. So I'd like to tell people to keep your eyes on our website once we get that locked in. And so I believe this one will be on Zoom, so it'll be a good virtual meeting. So we have those every quarter. So I think that'll be so that's our most regular event right now, but hopefully we'll be able to do more open houses in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So and where and when is this open house going to be? This first one you all are putting on going to be?
It'll be on Saturday, July 19th. Is down at the Central Library, just off Cesar Chavez. We'll be there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a free event. There'll be food, there'll be prizes. And so, the Central Library is a great place. So feel free, come check out your books, come enjoy the new cafe, and then swing by us to learn more about how you can get involved in Oversight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get all your questions answered there for sure. Well, Cooper, before we let you go, what's the website? Where can they find you all?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is atxpoliceoversight.org. That'll have link to all of our socials, our Facebook, our Twitter, and as well as the registration link for the open house. It's not necessary. It just helps us get a head count of everything. But yeah, that's where you can find us. You'll also be able to sign up for our newsletter. That's sort of where we promote all of our upcoming events first. So we highly recommend that people sign up for that, because it's a great way to stay up to date on what we're doing and where you can see us.
Absolutely. And one more time, the open house, July 19th at the Central Library. And what were the times again?
We start at 10 a.m. and go all the way till 2 p.m.
Well, thank you very much, Cooper Thompson, from the Office of Police Oversight, a community engagement specialist. I'm Jonathan Thomas. This has been another edition of City at Your Service. Have a great one.